I'm always looking for something different and unique. I want that new, fresh stimulus. I want that input. And Hawaii provided that because this was like, I think one of only 2 places maybe on the planet, I can't remember like how big of a geography, where this company was outfitted and certified to actually do waterfall repelling. Now, by the way, rappelling is one of those deals where you're hanging back, you're upside down practically in your feeling, and you're at least feeling that you have something stable to kick off of. But imagine an entire sheer wall that has been mossed over by millennia and millennia of waterfalls, right? And water coming off of it. So it's nothing but slick. Now, just for a moment, think how stupid this sounds. I'm gonna rappel down a waterfall where not only on some of these waterfalls, I'm gonna have like so many pounds of pressure smacking down on me, and you can't really keep your footing very well because it's slipping like crazy. And that's what we're gonna do? Yeah, totally. That's exactly what we're gonna do. So the first thing they did is they put us into like training mode. They're like, well, let's make sure you guys can at least rappel. So I had a group of my buddies there with me, and they put us down kind of like this dry part. And you know, that was pretty easy. Everyone can rappel. But then when they took us to the first waterfall, now just getting to the waterfall was crazy because they didn't have any path. This is what I love about adventures like this. You're like sliding off of the mountain. There's no path. You're getting scraped. You're getting bruised. We were caked in mud just to get to this first waterfall because we were going to do a couple. And this first waterfall, I don't know, it was maybe like 40 or 50 feet tall. Maybe it was 60 feet tall. And it had these big boulders, and they had several different lines. And so a whole group of us started coming down the waterfall. And this first one, it was epic. It was a big, fat, wide, meaty, tons of water flowing. You're slipping, you're falling. And I remember the guy harnessing me in. He looked at me and he says, you know, shaka, shaka, everything good? A-okay. I'm like, I'm good. And then all of a sudden it's like, how do you start going down this thing? Because you start leaning backwards and your feet are slipping out everywhere. And you just find a way, like what I was doing is I would take my heel and I would just find a way to wedge it between 2 rocks. And so that instead of, you know, letting it slip and slide everywhere on the moss, I was just going to kind of wedge and go. And dude, we were all rooting each other on. It was just so epic to watch all of us getting plastered with water. And at the same time, some of us were falling backwards. And there wasn't really a good way to do it. It was just go for it. We all get down into the water. We're going for some group pictures, and you can't, there's nothing stable to like walk on. Dude, the whole thing was just an awesome mess. And it was crazy fun. Like, I'll never forget that experience. And I'm feeling totally content. Everything's great for the day until they say, okay, we got one more waterfall to go to. On the way to the waterfall, it was really, really, really muddy. And everyone was trying to walk in each other's footsteps so that you wouldn't sink. And at one point I come around this corner and I'm like, oh, no one stepped there. That looks like a better spot. And my leg plunges all the way up past my knee into the mud. And it took quite a bit to pull myself out of there. And my buddy Sam Fox, he comes right around the corner behind me and he's like, hey, where should I walk? I said, honestly, friend, just walk in my footsteps here. Step right there. And Sam's like 300 and something pounds. So he goes down hard. We were just laughing our butts off because, mentors typically are trying not to lead you astray. But anyway, we get up to this other waterfall, and I'm going to be honest. I looked at it. I'm like, I think I have all the adrenaline out of me because this waterfall, it was nearly 100 feet tall, and the volume of water was intensely more. And I started watching the first couple people go down, and at first, it's not that bad, but the lower you get on the waterfall, the more pounds of pressure per square inch from the gravity of the water falling is actually hitting you. And by the time you get near the bottom, it just feels like this relentless pounding of all of this water, hundreds of gallons at once just falling on you. And I was scared. I was nervous. I get up there and I'm like, oh, I'm here with all my friends, but I kind of feel like I'm waterfalled out. I want to turn back. And instead I just said, you know what? I'm going to suck it up and I'm going to have an experience. And going over this waterfall was really different. This is still at a point in my life where me and heights weren't on the best of terms with each other. And so down below, everyone's like, yeah, go Kris, you got this, you can do this. And I'm just sitting here feeling sick in my stomach. And I launched myself over the edge. And this one for me is way harder than the first waterfall because it's not like coming down on a curve down a hillside. It's a sheer straight cliff, and some of it is even recessed in. At one point, as I got going, I actually got pulled on the inside of the waterfall where it was all on my backside, and so I could rest for a second, but pushing myself back out there was just all that water coming and crashing down all over again. I remember when I got really close, maybe like 15 feet from the bottom, that's when there was very little to actually put my feet on, but the water was just, it was crushing how much was there. It was incredible force of nature. And made it to the bottom, not very gracefully. And I'm celebrating. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad that's over. And my buddy's like, hey, it's my birthday. Let's do it again. And before I knew it, I found myself scrambling up the side of this thing all over again to do it. And the second time, I'm glad that I did, because the second time I went, it was way better than the first, because I got those jitters out, some of that stuff out of the way. And it was an unforgettable experience. You know, if you like ropes, if you like mountain climbing, and you like rappelling, and you like swimming in waterfalls or spelunking, just put the two of them together and you're gonna have some magic. You know, if you check in with me, I'm always gonna be traveling somewhere in the world, and often I'm opening my doors to travel with you. If you'd like to learn about my next adventure, how you can come and play, go to kriskrohn.com where we can share more of that with you. And in the least, come out to one of my 3-day experiences. They are life-changing. Your life will never be the same again.